Yeah, so welcome to Aalborg, actually, and welcome to this week's episode of the Foresting Tomorrow podcast. And if you're watching on video, at least you can see that it's where we normally do our podcast. We're not on the road anymore, but we've been on the road.
We have.
Yep.
It's been good.
First we went to Naturmødet Nature Festival.
Yeah.
In the top of Denmark, actually in my hometown, Hirtshals.
Very, very different weather from now.
Yeah.
Quite
exactly.
cold, as I remember.
Yeah, cold and windy.
Yeah.
And now it's much warmer and at least today not so windy. Maybe Benjamin, you can do a recap. What is what is Naturmødet all about?
Nature.
You can do it brief.
That's very brief, like you said in the video.
Yeah.
It's basically a gathering of a lot of people from different organizations who work with nature in different ways, and we discuss topics that are, popular in the media and
Also in real life.
in real life, yeah. And we hear different perspectives on. There's a lot of debates.
Yeah, I think there's I think there was a number like 630 debates.
Yeah, a lot of debates. You can.
Yeah, and it's 3 days.
Yeah, you basically need to be at 2 places at once, or maybe 5 places at once. if you
Yeah, I
want.
saw your calendar. I think you
Yeah.
had like 3 things overlapping each other.
Yeah, but yeah, it's what's good about it is all these debates that are usually, I think all of the time, people from different perspectives,
Yeah.
people that have different perspectives on an issue.
Yeah.
So you hear it from multiple angles, and yeah, that's very important in a debate, I think. So
Yeah.
you can learn a lot, and you can gain new perspectives on subjects, and
Yeah, they're
great
pretty short. So give and take 30 minutes, 40 minutes, like
Yeah.
so.
it's a good length.
Yeah. And so so maybe
Political top is there.
you actually had one that was too long because you fell asleep, right?
Come on.
Bolette
just,
said you were sleeping.
Yeah, I just closed my eyes shortly.
But it's also
They're not all that interesting. Just
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think you actually picked that one. You were just
no, it
brought
was
into it.
the weather. It was freezing cold, and we just went into a tent that was warm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's actually the most comfy tent.
Yeah,
Tent.
tent.
Tilts.
Yeah, but just to
That's
add,
right.
it's also the political top. So you have the top politicians, of Denmark attending these and attending the talks and the discussions.
Yeah, there was
And
only
very much-
one missing, right?
Yeah, that was the prime minister
Yeah.
this year, but she opened it last year. And it's just to say this is kind of unique from Denmark that they actually participate in these debates with the people.
Yep.
And so on, and walk around with the people.
Yeah.
And the big brother of the nature meeting, the people's meeting, was last weekend
Folkemødet.
in Bornholm.
Yeah.
So it's a thing we do in Denmark. So we
Yes.
have the people's meeting and nature people's festival and nature festival.
And then we also have some other ones.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
don't
remember the
no,
name.
me
But
neither.
the funny thing is, it's always placed like pretty remote. So people need to travel, stay.
Yeah, the thing it's placed, I think it's a wrong word because it's actually not placed. It's invented there.
Yeah.
So the reason it's on Bornholm is because Bornholm created it, and the reason it's in Hirtshals is because someone probably learned from Bornholm and thought, let's do that in Hirtshals.
Yeah.
So there's always a debate. Why is the people's festival at the most remote place in Denmark? Well, that's because they created it.
Yeah.
So
The most remote and I think that week probably the most expensive place to stay.
yeah, but I don't know so much about it. But Martin Thorborg, he said, well, we'd still have places that cost 700 Danish crowns per night.
Really?
Yeah, that was like up to like the day up to the meeting.
Okay.
So he's arguing that yes, if you want to live exactly where it is, it's expensive.
Yeah.
But if you can move to one of the other towns, and it's not that expensive.
No, and
So-
the island is not that big.
No, I don't know how far it actually is.
I
It's like
think
50 kilometers or something.
Yeah,
from end
maximum.
to end.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can ride a bike from one.
Yeah, and
to
we
the
actually
other.
have a good friend, Moses, who created a what's a fyr called in lighthouse.
Mm.
There's a lighthouse in each end of the island, and there's an ultra race, running from one lighthouse to the other one, and then for the big boys back again.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty long.
yeah, that'll be 100 then.
Yeah, and I think it's I think there was let me think. There was like one that was like available for general public, so to speak, and then there was an invitational one. I think it was in November, so it's pretty dark and windy and cold, and I think it's for the big boys, girls.
And girls, yeah.
Maybe Moses, when he'll be here, he can talk more about that. Okay, yeah. So I think it's a unique concept to Denmark. These meetings, and the concept it's actually very serious, but it's also very fun. And it's for all kinds of people. People like us, politicians, kids, your grandmother, your uncle. It's very one.
And I think it's absolutely essential to not have this partisan thing going on, where you have the battle between two parties, where no one ever meets in the middle. This kind of creates a place for that, which is relaxed and kind of the Danish way of doing things.
Yeah.
And it just creates this realm where everyone kind of meets. They're not necessarily agree, but somehow respect.
Yeah,
the
they respect each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's habit. I mean, when people, and that's mostly on X and LinkedIn, when people get into fights with each other,
exactly,
it's just that they're hiding behind the keyboard on their phone and just throwing stuff at each other. But when people meet in real life, under situations like this,
and you
more
build
relaxed.
a relation to the opposition.
Yeah.
You actually, maybe you kind of like that person.
Yeah.
You might not agree on everything, but you like the person for what they represent and so on.
Yeah.
So that's why you can see people, from agriculture and biodiversity meet up there and actually talk to each other.
Yeah. And we've been there 3 times, and now you say agriculture. Normally, the 2 other times, it was mostly, people being mad at agriculture. Agriculture in Denmark is a huge thing. But this time around, I think it was
that's
quite different.
Something.
Yeah, and that's probably because the 3-party, it's not called that agreement, but this whole land change agreement.
Forestation, project.
So everyone now knows that change will happen. So need to discuss some new things then, right?
Yeah, definitely. And they also have to change. We all have to evolve. We can't stay the same.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so that was Naturmødet. And then we went to Sweden.
Yeah, very, very different.
Yeah.
Fair or meeting.
Yeah, that's probably more fair. No, is it called that?
It's called a fair, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was big. At least, I think it's quite big. We have a very small one in Denmark. It's sort of similar in the structure of it.
It's in the forest as well.
Yeah, but it's smaller.
Yeah, I think the loop around, I just read it before, it's 3.5 kilometers, I think.
In Elmia?
Yeah.
Okay, I was actually thinking it was larger.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably different loops, but the big loop.
Yeah, so it's like 10 minutes run.
10 minutes for you, maybe. But yeah, it's quite big. I really enjoyed being there.
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of different people.
For the first time ever, we're gonna do a pause
Yeah, I can
in
see
this,
why.
because I have someone on the phone that I need to attend. Just a second, and we'll be back.
Can we just continue? Or should
Yeah,
we-
if you want to.
Okay.
I have no idea what you talk about then.
No.
But please continue.
We'll just talk about the fair.
That's fine. I'll be back.
Yeah. So maybe just I wasn't attending. It was you and Jens and Henrik who was attending. I stayed home. So maybe for everyone listening, so what is the special thing about this fair? Now we talked about the meetings or this festival, which is more kind of discussions and so on. Is this more like a display of, for example, tools or?
Yeah, it's more like a demo fair, you could call it, with a lot of machines from the entire industry. So both harvesting machines, machines they use in contracting and forestry, and sawmill machines and wood chip heating plants, and everything pretty much in that sort of realm. And this year the theme was innovation and technology. So they also had an innovation square, which was where our booth was at. So yeah, it's a lot of different things from the entire industry, and people often sell things at these.
So it's like a typical fair.
Yeah. So yeah, they demo their stuff.
And make some contracts and so on. Okay, and it's called Elmia Wood.
It's called Elmia
I don't
Wood,
know if you remember we had said that.
Yes.
And going from the nature festival to this where the nature festival is very much also about things like biodiversity and don't touch the forest and also oceans and so on. Where this is probably more like
it's very, very different in that in that aspect.
But that also, that just illustrates that the forest is many things. It is nature, and it is a place where both plants and animals live.
Yeah.
But it's also a resource for us humans.
Yeah, and especially in Sweden, they have. It's compared to Denmark, incredible amount of forest. So it's a big industry over there, and they take it very serious, and they have a history of. We always sort of look at them if we need sort of answers or inspiration to stuff in Denmark. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for forestry in Sweden. So yeah, it was great to be there.
Yeah, and in our previous podcast also, we have a lot of news coming from Sweden through this through Södra and so on, who does a lot of innovation work, also in robotics and all kind of technology. So it illustrates that this is a big industry in Sweden, where we have a large agricultural field, or that's where they do forestry instead.
Yeah, we often say welcome back.
Back again.
In Denmark, we grow up on a farm. A lot of people do. I didn't, but a lot of people grow up with farming and
it's everywhere in the landscape.
Yeah, and in Sweden, you grow up with a forest.
Yeah,
I actually think Denmark is the most agricultural land per percentage of available land area or something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Probably.
Could be. We have a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, like 60%, I think.
I think it's more.
I think so.
Yeah, I think I heard.
Let's say it's 60, and then we have 15% forest. What's the last 25?
Cities, infrastructure.
Does that really take up that much space? Maybe it does. It just seems like a lot. But
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, nature areas doesn't take up that much of an area in
that needs to be squeezed in.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we just went through Elmia Wood. What was actually the difference between this fair of and these meetings, nature meetings on nature festival?
Yeah,
that this is much more industry, and where you present your products and you sell them if you can, and so on.
Yeah,
there was also timber sports.
Yeah,
I didn't see it, but we heard a big noise.
Yeah. I will actually go sue Elmia Wood because they ruined Elmia Wood and steel, because they ruined my hearing.
Now have
it's loud. Wow. I was actually the first time we heard it we were like maybe like 300 meters from it, right?
Mm.
I was like, nah, that can't be a chainsaw, Benjamin. You're crazy. But it was.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know. The name is probably the same in English, but it's a Wankel engine.
Motor.
Yeah.
Engine. Yeah.
With 65 brake horsepower, and it's actually not that big.
Yeah, and it's something it's just something like a normal chainsaw you stand with. It's not something like you.
A big normal chainsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very loud.
Very loud. Very loud. Okay, so do you have any more else to say? I don't know what you talk about.
No, we just talked generally about Elmia and what it was, and
that's fine.
So,
Good.
Yeah, maybe you can touch a little more upon what did you do there? You were in the innovation square. I mentioned I wasn't there, so
yeah, yeah, that's right. We were up there showcasing our product. Talking to potential new customers, but also talking to the industry, to other sort of technology providers. And I think that was quite nice. And the good thing, and that's also something that we learned when we were at Naturmødet, is that, us being professionals, we of course try to build network on LinkedIn and all kinds of places. And it's funny when you get to fairs and festivals like this, I mean, the people that you have talk to or whatever on social media. I mean, it's nice that the network that you've actually built there is something that you could also benefit when you actually get to meet people in face to face, right? There's certain people that we have been talking to on and off throughout the months, and when you get to meet them in real life, it's just like, I mean,
like an old friend.
Yeah, it's like you already know them, and I think that's really nice, because if we hadn't done so, we wouldn't have been on Elmia. That's the first thing. That's down to Johannes actually. But yeah, we were there, and then we actually knew a lot of people when we actually arrived, so that was really nice. So and then also when we talked to so first of all, of course, the stuff that we represent, technology and let's say innovation in that regard, of course there are some companies up there, but it's not massive. It's still regular forestry stuff.
It's the machinery.
So, but it was nice to talk with a lot of these companies, and also we had like a dinner the first day after the fair where we get together with some other tech providers and had a blast. It was fun. Talked about we talked a lot about drones and lidars. There's quite an impressive company called Deep Forest. Yeah, it's a Swedish company. And they have some really awesome stuff, so we talked a lot about that. That was great.
Just an observation from this is that now on LinkedIn you add people before you know them or have met them.
Yeah.
When it started, at least for me, it's you added people when you had meet. So you're like, it's a kind of a switch now.
Yeah, but it also works.
Yeah, that's nice to know.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I actually have 2 stories for you. So let's.
You also shot a podcast there, and I listened to it.
We did. We had our friends from Aeon Group up there, and we talked about the importance of forest and nature data, or data in general, in terms of the value chains of decision makers and the value of the data all the way up to, let's say, boardrooms. That was quite nice.
Yeah, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because I just listened to it yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was good. Again,
thank you.
We could.
Thank you.
Yeah. I could be critical, but again, the sound, with the chainsaws, we could hear that.
Yeah, but you should have been there real life. As nothing.
Someone should, develop a chainsaw noise filter. It must have some frequency.
Yeah.
But what I was, after hearing that podcast, what I took from it was, and I think others hearing it will probably take some of the same stuff from that. As of course, this with data is absolutely essential for anything nowadays.
Yep.
But I think it was too short on. Yeah, well, you had the time you had, but it was too short, especially about this value chain. How do we get from the data, the fundamental data, up until this to the boardrooms?
Yeah,
we all, not all. I can understand why it's important there, but that journey from the forester who taps in something or the lighter that records something, that journey from data and all the way up, I think we should try to do another podcast on that. On the journey, the data journey.
Yeah, maybe do a series on the topic.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It is really a huge topic, and I think,
and it's hard even for me who understand the whole idea of data and why it's important to understand that. How do we actually add value all the way up?
Yeah, exactly. But and again, it's there's so many stakeholders involved in this, and there's so many use cases. So you being an investment director, you have certain use cases that you wanna fulfill. You being a member of a board in a production company, you have some use cases that you wanna fulfill. So it's just like, it's just. But we also briefly talked about this when we get back. You need to, if you can't grasp everything, and let's be honest, you can't.
You can't.
We can't. We can't.
Oh.
You need to. You at least need to focus on the fundamentals, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So just having the data, know where the data is, know what kind of data that you want to pick up,
quality of it,
the quality of it. I mean, no matter what you're gonna do with it, credits, decision making, whatever.
Yeah, and we've been in this space long enough now to have witnessed people come and go and ideas come and go.
Yep.
And we have met this, all this.
We have only been here 6 years.
But even in that brief period, we have met a lot of people or companies that focus so much on that boardroom thing or those in the top there.
Yeah.
And then, but what they didn't have any data. So but we'll that will happen.
Yeah.
No, it won't. Things like that doesn't just happen.
Then some cultural shift at least need to happen.
But again, it's just back to this fundamental thing. You need to add value in the start of creating that data, because if you don't have that, if you don't have value in creating it,
later on you have nothing.
So okay.
But it's also now we wrote we did a small recap of the podcast on LinkedIn, but it seems like that's actually a topic that people have some interest in.
I really believe we should make this series is a good idea, and even with Aeon, because that's where they try to create that value and understand that. So we should do that series with them, maybe.
Yeah, maybe if we could sort of like outline like maybe 5 episodes that cover different angles of it. So, call that a series, and then have interesting people and companies coming in on each of these ones.
And that what I said before, that you need to add value when you create the data, or else the data won't be created. But that value can come from something else, from the boardroom, saying this is what we need because this adds value here.
Yep.
So just to say that they are, but it's hard to grasp what is this, because it's a bit fluffy, and it would be nice to, also educational wise, for everyone to kind of, let's sit down and go through the.
It's a very good idea. Thank you for bringing that up.
I didn't bring it up. We're just jamming on now. We're creating the series now.
But you talked about the podcast.
And
that's
kickstarted
this one.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Oh, by the way, so this is episode 34, and this will be the last one. Not forever. Before the summer holidays. So so this will be the last one. So please enjoy it. And we'll be back in August, doing what we normally do. I think talking to people, us telling about stories,
And now you can use your summer outlining this new series
Yeah,
of podcasts.
I'll be thinking about this all summer long. Okay, so I think let's move on.
Yeah.
So the first story. Let me see. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Yeah, for several reasons. So, story 1: Poland plants the world's first true forestry robot.
True forest.
Yeah, we talked about robots. We were trying to, move Boston Dynamics, or what's it called now? Boston Dynamics?
It's still called that.
Yeah.
Atlas
Boston
the robot.
Dynamics and Atlas and the Tesla humanoid robot. We were trying to, argue about, could we bring those to the forest and how would that happen? Or how would that look like? So so now we actually have some guys in Poland who wants to do this. So a team of scientists in Poland, Italy, and Cyprus is working on a 4-legged forestry robot designed to climb steep terrain, count wildlife, collect ticks. Do you know what ticks is?
No, I'm immediately thinking about the ones you don't want.
You don't want those either, those ticks.
Okay.
You know what it is, right?
I'm also thinking about
the one that buries in
blood-sucking,
your...
Okay, I was like, these ticks.
No. Okay.
Okay, but it is those ticks.
Okay.
Yeah, and even search for buried archaeology. So quite a... Yeah, no.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking as well. So here are some key facts. So the project is led by Poznan's University of Life Science and Adam Mickiewicz University. The robot will have legs like an alpine mountain goat to handle tough landscapes. It's designed to collect forest data, count animals, monitor trees, gather ticks, and even help archaeologists. First tests will happen in Poland, Cyprus, and Italy, with prototypes expected in a year. The robot will focus on... so in Denmark we say Natura 2000. Natura? How do you say that in English? Is it called that in English?
The protected...
EU protected areas.
Yeah.
It is called Natura.
Natura?
It's EU that has named it.
Yeah, but Natura.
I don't know how you pronounce it. Natura.
Protected areas where access and data collection are difficult. I was actually... side note. I was actually looking at coverage in UK.
Yeah, the 5G?
No, just cellular in general.
Yeah.
There's of course, this now we're talking about other places, and there's actually a huge part that has no cellular
I checked
service.
it also.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah, huge parts.
Yeah, in the middle of England. Okay, side note.
It's because we come from Denmark, where there's really good... We also have areas without coverage, but we have really good coverage in Denmark.
Yeah.
So when you go to other countries, it's like, whoa.
You can watch Netflix 4K everywhere.
Yeah.
Almost. Okay, so the main goal is support a shrinking number of trained foresters by automating time-consuming work. And there is a person here, Anna Wiczbika. We want to relieve the workload of foresters and help gather data in areas where few experts remain. So let's get to this story and discuss it a bit. So maybe you should start, Rasmus. I've noticed that you are rolling your eyes and shaking your head while I was reading out the story. So maybe not a question, but that is actually a question. What's your thoughts?
So, before we did this, we worked with robots. So right now we see it's actually more AI now, where AI is the solution to everything. So you have a lot of companies building AI, and what will happen to these companies, a lot of them is what happened to a lot of the robot companies that started back when we... And that is, everyone wants to build a robot for something, but is that robot actually solving a actual economical problem where someone actually wants to pay it for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, you'll fail. So just by listening to the words, I don't know what this will end, but it will collect ticks. How the hell would it do that? It will look for archaeology.
Yeah.
Do you think a forester really cares?
I don't know.
I mean, they
If
have
it's
to-
Danish rules, you know what will happen, right?
yeah, you're supposed to sort of call the museum. You know, I've come across something, but
Yeah.
if
And then it's locked down.
yeah. So maybe it doesn't happen all the time, but you're supposed to.
And then it will collect data. Of course, I don't know what it is. It's just you take a platform, put it out there, and then why don't slam on a lot of sensors for something?
Yeah, slam.
Yeah, slam.
Clever.
It'll slam around.
Yeah.
So, but what I know, and I understand this, that it's remote areas. We don't get people to go out there and do it.
Yeah, understand the
And
use
we
case.
and we have discussed this 100 times or a million times, but I don't believe that it will be something like a robot walking around out there, because it will be something flying. It's much easier. It's way too expensive to build a robot. A four-legged, you know, the spot. The four-legged robots exist.
Yep.
And they can traverse fairly complex terrain.
Yep.
I don't think it will traverse forest very well if you have like bushes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a spot robot cost 100,000 euro.
Yeah, and
And that's
try
without the sensors.
Yeah, and try maybe just explain first of all why it's so expensive and why Boston Dynamics is such a huge company, and maybe also outline how long time it has taken them to get to where they are today.
Yeah, so Boston Dynamics was a research. It sprung out of universities, and it's a research company somehow. I don't know actually how they make money.
Yeah,
but then they were bought.
Make money.
Then they were bought by SoftBank.
Yeah, which is
actually they were bought by Google first, I think.
yeah, right.
But still kept as a research department for robotics.
Mm-hmm.
Then SoftBank, which is a huge investment fund from Japan, which get money from all around the world, but they invest a lot in robotic companies back then. In general back then.
Yeah.
Also companies around robotics. They actually bought Arm, I think, before it's now.
Wow.
Yeah. And stuff like that, because but then they kind of pushed Boston Dynamics to have a product. You know, you need to also sell something. You can't just be a research. And then they created, and they still only have, as far as I know, one commercial product, which is this Spot, which is a four-legged robot that looks a bit like a dog.
Yeah.
It's like half a meter high and 80, 90 centimeters.
And you've seen one in real life.
Yeah, we had them at the university. We had two of them.
Yep.
And they cost around 80,000 euros without any kind of stuff
It's
around
just the
them.
base.
But if you want like a little more, it's around 100,000 euros per dog, per spot. And now you have essentially a platform that can navigate, which has legs.
Yeah.
You can buy
You could call it an alpine mountain goat.
Exactly. And then you could also, spend 20,000 euros and get a platform that can move around autonomously, just with wheels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So essentially, Spot is just a platform that can move sensors around, like a mobile one that can move sensors around.
Yeah.
But why do you need four legs? Well, then you can go upstairs, for example.
Yeah.
But what that comes with a price.
Yeah.
First of all, just one leg needs probably 2, 3, or 4 motors. And this is not, cheap motors. This is high-end motors.
Yeah.
And they are expensive.
Yeah.
And now you have 4 legs that needs this.
Yeah.
So now you have a really expensive robot.
Yeah.
It's not actually the sensor. It uses some cameras. They're not expensive. Then you have, of course, some intelligence in it, which is software, and you have some computers and so on.
Yeah.
But it's this hardware. It's the motors.
Yeah.
So now you've built a really expensive platform.
Yeah.
Of course, it can walk.
But why? I mean, you said like Aalborg University has 2 of those. Why do and the reason why I'm asking you is, of course, you have some experience with being at a university.
Yeah.
Why do your university go into a project where they want to develop something that's, I mean, it's definitely not like something that you could pull down from a shelf. But you could actually buy one. Why do they go to the extent and invest on doing the robot?
The universities.
Yeah.
At
this university.
Funding. When you're at a university, it's about, essentially, if you work at a university, you need to become a storyteller, which can tell a story that will make someone give you money.
Yeah.
And the use case is used here. If they want, and then they will, I don't know why they'll build their own, because it's expensive, and that's fair enough. The universities need to innovate. But, this has been created, so yeah.
But Poznan's University of Life Science.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that does, but life science is...
they will not be the ones building it. It's probably one of the other.
Yeah, let me just look the other one up. What is that? You don't know the Adam Mickiewicz University? No. Wow, they actually have a nice building. Wow. Have a look at this one. It looks nice.
Yeah, it's a historical building.
Yeah. Oof. Is the major academic institution in Poznan and one of the top Polish university. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but okay. So,
but let's if you're right. Why would they build one?
Yeah,
because you could get money for it and it's fun. That's also how the university work. But if you wanted to look a little more, commercial on this, we would also say no. Don't start building one.
Mm-hmm.
Buy
one and do
that and
all the other interesting stuff,
and then see if you can add any value that anyone wants to pay for.
Yeah,
and if not, then you know you shouldn't build the robot.
Yeah,
but that's not how it works. And that you can learn a lot from building such a robot.
But it's funny because collect forest data, count animals, monitor trees, and then this archaeology thing. That. You could argue that this is the robot that go out and evaluate terrain and stuff, and then we get to the gather ticks. So it's then
how to do that?
All of the sudden it has an arm or something that will pick things up.
Yeah, shake the branches or what? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I feel like they will stick to it in some way, but it's like gathering sand in Sahara, I think.
Yeah, but that's actually, now we're getting back to it's not it's just it's just out there, and then it will get stuff
just like a deer or something.
Yeah, but okay,
but just look at how much when you are doing something, you're in any field, you also want how much area can I actually cover? Per price.
Yeah,
and this can cover a lot of area. It's very energy dense to walk.
Yeah.
The only reason we walk and the way we walk, which is really hard, is that we have a really good balancing system that makes sure that we use the least amount of energy possible.
Yeah.
But we can't. That's why we don't go out there. We cover way too little. So now we want a robot out there that's much more energy inefficient.
Some of us cover more than others.
They should just hire you and slap some sensors on and make you run around.
Yeah, but I have bad knee.
I'm also thinking about all the Bigfoot stories we'll hear about people that have seen a robotic mountain goat.
Yeah, that's actually that's another interesting topic. We also talked about I think at some point in time, stuff that that's also something that Elon has said about, do you want things flying over your head, or do you want things going on in the ground? I mean, what kind of life do you sort of anticipate? And there is some scary stuff about robots. I mean, now we have the wolf that we need to pay attention to. We don't want this alpine mountain goat
filled with ticks. Just distributing ticks all around.
Yeah. Okay. No. Let's get back. Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on these, let's say, really advanced robots in forest? Is that something that you foresee?
No, it isn't. I can see like automatic planting machines and stuff like that. But if that's all that robot can do, what you mentioned, I don't see where you like. I always look at these things like you need to earn the money back, and probably more than it has cost you to implement that.
Yeah.
I don't see how a robot like that can do that.
Yeah.
Maybe ticks is a big problem in Poland. I don't know, but
I think it is. And I also talked to a guy in UK. I think there's certain. I think it's not that big of a. It's not a big thing in Denmark, but I think there are countries where it's actually.
It is a little bit big in Denmark as well. There is I don't know, it's called Borrelia in English as well, but there's also the other one that basically
numbs your face.
Yeah.
My mother actually tried that, or what do you want to call it?
Oh, she got that.
In one side.
I've had the other one twice or 3 times. I think Borrelia.
I've also had penicillin for it, but I've
never. You get these red.
Yeah, but is that the same?
No, I don't think that's what causes the other thing.
If you don't treat it,
okay,
you will lose your leg pretty much.
Yeah,
I think.
But it's you can see it fairly clearly because you get these red rings.
Yeah,
but is the issue with ticks not that there's too much game or wildlife or what? Why does it become a issue that there's too many of them?
The Borrelia and the diseases, they transfer from the
from the game.
So I guess if there's too much of them, there's a high chance of I don't know, but there
So another question for you, Benjamin. These protected areas or conservation areas, do we actually need something that sort of monitors these areas, or?
Probably, but I don't, like Rasmus also talked about, I don't think from the ground.
No.
You can cover enough, and you can do so much from the air already.
Yeah.
So I think, monitoring is a big thing. You need to have a baseline, and you need to see how it evolves, if it's going in the right direction. But I think you can do most of that from the air.
Yeah.
And I would assume that's probably a lot cheaper as well.
Yeah, that you can. I think you should just do the math somehow and say the cost per area covered and the value of what is it actually the information I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, if it's the number of ticks, you can't really capture that from space or from air. And if that has a large value for you.
Yeah, it almost seems like that's what it was primarily developed for, because it's such a niche thing.
Maybe. And then if slapped on the other things to get the funding. That happens, by the way.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap this one up. So what's your final say or final take on this one? A hot take or whatever you want to call it.
I think it's fun to hear about, and maybe someday someone will crack the code and do something that adds a lot of value. So I think it's good that people are trying, at least.
Okay.
Innovating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's probably going to be a really fun project to work in. Building a cool robot, going out to the woods with it and all that. That's going to be nice, and the people doing it will learn a lot. So
yeah.
Yeah,
the main issue that I have with this story is that I have no idea why they want to do the robot themselves. I think that's it's just crazy. Focus on the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they should start the project by just running around out there themselves and see if they can sell that data.
Yeah.
If not,
but that's not a university.
No, it isn't. It isn't. But and we have also discussed it. University projects come at different levels, these TIL levels, technology readiness level.
Yeah.
And this seems like something that they want to push high on that, given that it's a use case out there in the forest. It's not something fundamental technology.
No,
it's not a new sensor. It's not a new motor. It's building a robot that's actually that already are created.
Yeah.
and just the battery time on these are really low because they use a lot of power.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So it seems, and then if you are up in the TRL levels, you need to make sure you can actually commercialize. Then because who should take it to 8 or 9?
Yeah, you're right.
Then you just, and that's also a responsibility for you, for the university and the investors, is that these, of course, some will fail, and that's fair, but not, what's the path?
Yeah,
please get that somehow.
Is that something that universities are very sort of focused on right now? Understanding,
It's becoming more and more part of it, and that's because how the funding has changed, because there's given more funding to the later TRL levels. Of course, if you are a physicist or a mathematician, you don't even care about that.
No.
You could go out and collide some atoms or something to make something like that you don't have any idea how to sell that or anything. And that's also, you need that, because that's what creates the transistor.
Yeah.
And then somehow the engineers takes over, and somehow now we have a chip where it can do a lot of calculations.
Yeah, and a lot of transistors.
And then some smart guys take over, and then you have.
Do you know what a transistor is?
No idea.
Something
in the computer on a chip.
Yeah, we will explain that. That's not for this podcast.
Take a lesson afterwards. But so you need all kinds of these levels. But if you are up in the top, at least you should have some company in that, maybe helping with the last things and so on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But there's a lot of money out there, and that's why the universities are up there.
So we're gonna say goodbye to the Alpine mountain goat and continue with the next story.
Bye.
So, bye. So, the next story is something that I at least, and we talk about this quite often in the office, is that how do we use wood, especially the amount of the product that can't be used in traditional ways. Like for instance in construction and so on. So this is what this story is about. So it goes like this: can pine bark power the next generation of medicine? And I have a question for you, Benjamin. When we get to of course I have, but I'll get to it. New Zealand scientists are exploring how to turn radiata pine bark, usually discarded as waste, into ingredients for life-saving drugs. So here's some facts. Radiata pine makes up 90% of commercial forest in New Zealand. Are you surprised?
90?
That's a lot.
Yep. Every year the industry produces 2.5 million tons of bark.
Also a lot.
Yep. Which is mostly unused. So research... Huh?
So it isn't even burned, but maybe that doesn't even make sense because there's too much water in it.
We'll get back to it.
Sorry.
So researchers at Aeon are testing ways to extract high-value compounds from this bark. Some of the compounds found, and I'm going to say I'm sorry, because now we get into medicine names, which is not like my strong. It's not something that I practice at home. So quercetin, quercetin, and taxifolene. Do you know the names?
No.
Okay. Can be used as antioxidants, antimicrobials, and even in cancer treatment. So the breakthrough, changing the extraction sequence, improved yield by 30%. The bark could become a key part of a bio-refinery model, a bio-refinery model, adding new value to the forestry sector and reducing waste. So I think that's nice. And the lead researcher at Aeon, so Sumanth Ranganathan. They should have Danish names, all of them. Only a fraction of pine bark is used today. The rest could be a treasure for drug development if extracted the right way. So first of all, Benjamin, And especially Rasmus and I, we are really paying attention now. What do we actually do with bark today?
Some of it is, in gardens.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that
also
pine bark?
I
what
think
the
it's
story
all
says.
kinds of bark.
Yeah,
bark.
it don't matter, right?
But
the large brown ones, what is that?
That's
Pinea.
bark.
Pinea bark.
Pinea.
And you know that there are different barks, but there's this large brown ones you use. Okay.
Yeah.
Find a picture of it.
yeah, bark on trees are different from species to species. But
Yeah.
But yeah, they are. I don't actually know what the sawmills use them for necessarily, but I think it's for.
Yeah, so the
Energy.
article says something about garden. But why isn't it used for energy?
I think it is. I would assume it is. I don't know.
But if you have 2.5 million tons,
yeah, but there's probably not the best. It's probably not the best to burn. There's probably not much energy in it. And maybe I know a lot of pine species. The bark is actually, they are so evolution had made the bark, to protect the tree from fire.
Yeah.
Actually, so maybe it's hard to light.
That's
up,
a good.
but I
That's a
think-
very good point.
But I don't know much about it. But I think in Denmark, I would assume it's used for either gardening or energy.
Okay.
I would also say I guess this is what comes from the sawmills then, because if it's small, we just chip them up with bark and everything.
Yeah.
But then that you get some residue from the sawmills. I guess that's also just chipped up. If you
I would assume it is gathered in a big bunch. I know at the sawmills and probably used for energy. Probably.
Probably.
Not
Let me
something
just
I
go
actually
back to the
knows.
article and then search for energy. Yeah, so primarily used for energy and landscaping.
Yeah, but it would need to be mixed in with other, because you can't only burn that. It will turn off the heating plant because there's there's not enough.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Good point. So Rasmus, in a platform like ours, what do we actually know about the tree's bark?
Nothing, I guess.
Yeah. You had no, models or
No. I think what we're working on right now about this, the different ways of measuring. Before you sell trees, but
the raw material.
And that in the UK you actually measure below bark.
Yeah, actually, mostly weight, but there, if they measure, I think it's below or under bark, and also in Sweden and lots of places.
Under
they
bark.
measure under bark, yeah.
Yeah. How do you do that if you need like a diameter in the middle of the stem?
I mean, I think there are conversion factors, but I think they just measure. When you measure the diameter, just do it without the bark.
Did
Cut it
you
away.
remove it?
No, you can just measure. Put the measuring tape, on the stem.
Yeah, but that's where it's been cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really measure it.
If you have like the long ones.
The long ones.
Full log.
Langtømmer.
You can still see the end of the tree. Are you talking about when they're still standing up?
No, but didn't you have like a middle diameter?
Oh, yeah.
That's in Denmark.
Also in UK, right?
Nah, there you use the top diameter.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is at the end.
Okay.
But there are factors. So
yeah, there are conversion factors.
Yeah. So maybe you actually measure it the middle with the bark and then just convert. Maybe it's, I don't know.
Yeah, and different trees have different bark thickness as well, and
yeah. Cool. So Benjamin, do you see like a new market for bark? Have you stumbled on anything that would sort of now of course you just heard this story, but could you think of other things
for bark?
Yep.
I mean, good question. I think if there was something, people would have thought of it, I think.
Yeah.
but it surprises me that there are things in the bark that can be used for medicine. So if that's, I think we should look at that for whole tree species, probably.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how expensive it is to extract.
No, that's a good
Probably
question.
quite
I
expensive.
actually have a question for you, Rasmus, in this regard. How costly is it to extract these? Nah, that's not the question.
I wouldn't be able, but I was just sitting and wondering that probably we do in medicine extract a lot from plants.
And they have a lot of natural,
Yeah,
evolutionary.
Yeah,
that would make sense for me.
Mm.
So, of course, the tree's bark probably has something. As you just mentioned, that a lot of pines are actually the evolution of the bark is to kind of not burn. That means that it must contain something that can help with that. And we also use resin from trees for different purposes. So,
do you want to hear how they extract the ingredients from the bark? I actually copied this in. So they looked at the impact of the size of the bark. So this is just the text of the article. They looked at the impact of the size of the bark particles and the order of adding solvents. Although the order of extracting hydrophilic and lipophilic compounds didn't impact the composition of the final extract, it changed the yield. Performing the hydrophilic extraction first would increase the total extraction yield of this radiata pine by 20%. So that's the outcome of what they studied. Plus, with that sequence of extraction, a significant increase of flavonoids, catechin, quercetin, and taxiphyllene was observed, which can be used as antioxidants, antimicrobials, and nutricals.
I wonder if you can, if it's burned, if those
that
you
remains.
extract them after,
That's a good question.
The nutrients are there for wood chips at least.
Yeah,
except nitrogen, but most of the, not 100% of the nutrients, but a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Yes, you could have both energy and.
Yeah.
There you go.
But probably
clever boy.
The when you extract something from plants for medicine, I would assume if you burned it first, it would be gone after it. But who knows?
A lot of chemical process about heating stuff, at least. But I don't know.
Yeah. So a question for you, Rasmus, and now you need to think back to your university days. If you had to support a process of extracting like I just mentioned, tech-wise or work-wise, or is there any sort of technology where you see that you should probably do it like this, I'm mostly thinking about scaling stuff.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about what is actually needed, but of course I guess that's what medicine companies do. They have these projects where they find out how they can do it, and then it kind of goes over to the automation of it.
Yeah.
How do we produce it? How do we actually scale a plant for this?
Yeah.
And it's probably expensive to figure that out, and then
there's also a huge margin on medicine afterwards, at least.
A lot of
seems like
and I actually what's it called for the diabetes?
4 minutes left.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can't remember that. But that maybe I don't know where that's actually extracted from, or if that's produced chemically or. Yeah. But I guess that's technology, and this is just this is medicine, right? So that's also a technology, and then you need to scale building the industry around it. But that it doesn't really matter if it's medicine or it's a robot.
Yeah.
If you need to scale that, you need to produce it, or a mobile phone, you get produced in specialized places. So you need to build the specialized. And I guess actually so you probably take something and then you process it with standard processes. and then it's just a matter of how you link these processes together, and then you have like the line of how you put the wood
production line.
Yeah, the production line. You put in the bark in one end, and out the other end comes some medicine.
Yeah, or maybe some ingredients for medicine.
Yeah. And then you put that into another line.
It's just
awesome.
a fun fact about the plants for medicine. If you walk around old castles and such, you can often find plants that are not necessarily supposed to grow there, but maybe 500 years ago they used these plants for poison or for medicine, and they will grow there still today.
Yeah,
some places.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just a fun fact.
Yeah, nice. By all means, throw in some fun facts. Okay, should we just wrap this one up? I can start. So, as I said to begin with, I'm totally into the idea of figuring out how we could use the stuff from wood that we can't use other places. So I think it's just super nice to see studies like this.
I agree.
So that's my comment on this.
Yeah, I mean, everything where there's a sort of a byproduct where you can utilize the byproduct is great. So and for medicine is even greater. So
and it adds economy into the forest again. It makes it possible to build even more, create more sustainable, and all these things.
Yeah, and it is. It is a raw material that will actually, grow again if it's utilized, and then it's just nice for the industry that we can make value in all kinds of industries afterwards. Good. Let's wrap it up, and so it was episode 34, and now we'll take a break, and you guys listening, you should also take a break. Breaks are good. You come back stronger. That's
Listen
why
to
physical
the
exercise,
episodes
right?
you haven't listened to yet.
Yeah, and reach out if you have like an uncle that we need to talk to, or someone in your network. That would be
That would be cool if we can actually. I would like to have some talks with the guys who are working on this turning byproducts into something else. That could be medicine. It's also these fibers, and we have already talked to Maximilian about how you can laminate these things together to get stronger. But more this chemical thing.
it's really interesting.
Where we down to the fibers, and
I totally agree.
Yeah. So if anyone's out there listening.
Yeah, please let us know.
Yeah, reach out.
Yeah. Okay. Let's wrap it up. Thank you for spending time with us, and we see you again in August.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye bye.